Yo, I'm Nick Gage, and if you don't watch All Elite Podcast, I'm gonna send someone in the house to fuck you up.
Doing it in style, it's all elite. Not accepting defeat, a lot can change in 1 year.
All Elite family, let's get ready to podcast. Welcome back, All Elite family, to another special edition of the All Elite Podcast. We are finally rolling into the TNT AEW on Dynamite days, just a couple days away. And for this special edition of the podcast, we are saying F YouTube for pulling us off of our live stream due to some shenanigans. So hopefully we'll get that all taken care of in the next couple weeks. It was due to some lame copyright thing that happened when we were showing some NXT highlights last week. Apparently that's a big no-no if you can't hide it the right way. So that's just one reason among many why we're not going to actually do the Wednesday night Dynamite or the Wednesday night main event show as we were planning on. The whole NXT versus AEW thing was appealing for a little bit, but obviously there's just many things, including a lot of feedback, that has made us decide that we're just going to focus directly on AEW on this channel, as many of you have asked, and what should be expected from the All Elite podcast to begin with.
And it's also just a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with all of that said, AJ, how are you doing, my bud?
I'm doing good. I went to NXT Fort Pierce on note of NXT, and it was a great, great show. We had EO, we had Mia Yim, we had Oni Lorcan. It was awesome, and some new faces too that I'm thinking are hopefully going to be on TV soon.
That's cool, man. I really haven't been up to much, just paying a lot of attention to what's going on within the wrestling scene these days. We're actually taping right now during the Joey Janela send-off show for GCW, so a lot going on within the independent wrestling scene that I personally am excited for, but really I'm just excited for AEW to get started up within the next couple of days. Dynamite on Wednesday. There's a lot of news that we obviously have to get to first, but before we get into that, AJ, just how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 for this Wednesday?
10. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for months now, and I'm sure that's
all
part
the lead
of it.
up to these days, these moments. That's one of the it's like surreal to me. Like, oh my gosh, it's really here as a fan, let alone as these guys who have to feel so like inspired but also like nervous and anxious. There's got to be so many emotions running through everyone's body from top to bottom within the whole organization, just because as a fan I'm like nervous, but I'm super excited. I can't wait to like the first show is going to be what should be a great time, a really awesome event for wrestling fans, and you just have to hope that the turnout is good, that everything turns out
I think it will be
as you would expect. I mean, obviously the crowd, they've got quite a few tickets sold. I think that's something that we might as well just jump into in regards to news. They sold out the tickets for the first show on Dynamite in DC, but there's still roughly 2,000 available when I checked last night on the resale market. That's really not the best sign, but we're still talking about a 14,000 seat arena. So I think
still a lot of people.
That anybody who's hung up on the leftover seats might like just wait and see. I do as a fan though, it's a little disappointing to have to think that a lot of the like if they have to tarp off some stuff, those tarp memes are just ridiculous, especially for a new company. But that's the fanboys, there are fanboys on the other side who can't wait to just be like, oh, AEW couldn't sell out they sold it out, but where are all the fans? So,
and I know it's not comparable, but with Fyter Fest and with Fight for the Fallen, the same thing. You had a lot of empty seats that they were just hit away, and I was around some empty seats when I went to Fyter Fest.
It's like a mostly full, especially in the spots that you would expect, but it's still not totally full, and I think that's to be expected. I guess I basically saw the same thing at All Out. Like it wasn't bad, but it was a little bit, as a fan, you notice, especially for a company that touts and talks about sold out so much, you notice when you're in a venue that's not really sold out but has been technically sold out. I mean, and that's the thing, at the end of the day, who cares? AEW has the money for the tickets. They're not the ones reselling them, so it's not a problem on them. But it is a bit of like a negative, especially only because they have touted the sold out thing so heavily.
Yeah,
that now it's become almost a black mark on the company.
I could, we're going to keep moving the goalposts and all that. But, I mean, those numbers from before aren't any different. They still did sell out. Like, that means there still was a demand, and there was an assumption for scalpers that there was going to be a demand.
I mean, and I think the biggest thing is now a lot of AEW fans can see that they can just sort of wait, and the touring is actually going to begin. It's not something you have to be a destination thing, because there are many months and hopefully years of this company to last that you'll be able to see it in the future. And it's not, well, I really have to go, because for a lot of people, I'm sure getting to Double or Nothing and All Out felt like, well, I have to be there because you never know what's going to happen. Now TNT is starting up, and you have a good idea of what's going to happen. There's going to be a weekly television show, a weekly television war between two great companies and two great rosters that I'm excited to see.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And then in other AEW news, AEW has recently released a press release talking about how AEW merchandise will be available in Hot Topic stores across the nation. This is fantastic news for fans like me who would love to buy a Joey Janela shirt, but I really don't want to pay the Pro Wrestling Tees shipping
so much.
I love Pro Wrestling Tees. I don't mind paying $35 for a t-shirt if I like it, but what I do mind is paying an extra $9 per shirt just for shipping. I don't like how I can't get like a bulk order. Like if I'm buying 10 things, it should be cheaper for me, not, oh, well, you bought another thing, so your shipping's even more now. That's my, and that's just a critique with Pro Wrestling Tees, but.
Yeah, but it's smart for them because they're obviously, Pro Wrestling Tees is great, like we said.
It's niche.
It's niche. It's kind of for the indies. It's kind of for an independent.
Bullshit, man. It is, but it isn't.
You know what I mean.
The indies,
you know what
but that, like I said, those prices, like, give me a break, dude. Oh boy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we all good?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's not indie, but it's for people selling things independently.
Yeah, and I am hyping it up a little bit to like the prices just aren't for me. If I lived in Chicago, it would be perfect. If there were more fair shipping prices, I think it would be perfect. But for me, it's just, that's what really stresses me out about Pro Wrestling Tees, because I'm a fan of so much of the merchandise and so many of the things that I just can't be pressed to pay that much when the fees are that much. I tend to wait for a sale or something like that. But that's why I'm excited about this AEW merch in Hot Topic and stores that I can get to within relative ease, that fans can get to within relative ease, and buy your favorite wrestler shirt. And I mean, it makes sense, this Hot Topic deal. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have had a relationship with Hot Topic for many years now, so it makes all the sense in the world, but it's awesome. It also makes me wonder if we're going to get things like AEW Funko Pops and stuff like that quicker than many expect, because the Bucks obviously are good at reusing those relationships that they built for themselves and making it broad for the whole group.
And I think you're spot on with that. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And I do think you're right that it's going to be sooner than later, because they already have these deals in place. It's just a matter of saying, hey, look, we have all these numbers. We have a great company. Let's get this rolling. And, Funko's not going to go, no, we don't want money.
Exactly.
It's going to be great. And like you said, the shipping and everything else, like I was stoked for Fyter Fest to be able to buy shirts, because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go and buy a shirt and it's going to be easy and great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it just entices you to maybe buy more than one because you're not paying so much in the shipping or something like that. But on the bright side, on the Pro Wrestling Tees side, they are releasing new AEW merch too. I'm not sure how that plays into the Hot Topic deal, if we can expect this new merch to be there. But there is definitely going to be new merch available on ProWrestlingTees.com, which the merch is dope, and that they will probably pull some money out of my wallet for this, especially if there's an announcement saying these t-shirts won't be in Hot Topic, just because I've seen at least the Joey Janela and Penelope Ford shirts, two totally unrelated shirts, but two shirts that I could wear out in public and be like, yeah, this is cool. So, and they've got other shirts. They've got a nice Jungle Express shirt and stuff like that. AJ, you'll have to take a look at it, all the new merch that they've got. But It's cool to see that AEW is like, and they're so consistent with it. I mean, this company hasn't even started its like weekly television shows, and we've had a couple Jungle Boy shirts, a couple Janela shirts, like a couple shirts for the popular stars, and not just the Omegas and the Bucks, which I really appreciate as well.
Yeah, 100%. That they're really being inclusive, and because you could very easily just lay out a bunch of Kenny Omega shirts, and that would probably sell just as much. But going down the line that you're investing in this talent, and that's proof of the investment that we are going to push these guys who you don't know.
Exactly. And then in big AEW news, earlier today, they dropped the new Dynamite intro video, something to get fans excited for the TV show that's coming in a few days. And if you're watching this live, you can see it in the background now. This is a sweet video from AEW that is really new. It's not super new in terms of like creativity, but it's just different within wrestling, much more colorful than you might be used to, much more just going on with like creative designs and effects, and it plays into wrestling so well that it's something I would like to see them continue to do with their highlight videos. Something that I've talked about a lot with the Road 2 series and stuff like that is when they do these highlight videos with highlights of the matches and these extra effects, it really adds to the match and adds to the moves. You can see here when Kenny Omega, he hits the knee on somebody, and it just boom.
It was red,
right on Pok, and you see it flying off him. It's like so crazy, and it adds such an intense effect to the move that's already happening that I think this intro is awesome.
I wasn't even sold on the rainbow scheme until I saw this video, and I was like, okay, I get what they're doing now. This is awesome. Yeah. And it's a good video. I don't know if I love the song, but I'm sure they're going to cycle through a few over time.
Yeah, that was something I also thought. I wasn't a huge fan of the song.
It's not bad.
Well, here's the thing, though, is they should really have like purchase some type of popular song. Maybe not the most popular song on the radio or anything like that, but something more familiar or from a band that's more familiar for fans, because WWE, like, not that this has to be a comparison every week, but the fact that WWE is rolling out a new entrance video, a new theme song to Raw and Smackdown and NXT, and they're using like popular rock bands and stuff like that to produce the songs, it does create that distortion of, well, maybe this one is better than the other.
And if we're looking at TNT and WCW, we're probably not going to get that, because as history goes, they're very keen on using production music and in-house music, which I'm not happy about. But hopefully we get some kind of a real song. I mean, I'm saying it's not a real song, but you know what I mean. A popular song.
Well, and the thing that I can only hope is beneficial for AEW in the social media era is that there are a lot of popular bands and music artists and stuff like that who seem to have had that relationship with professional wrestling growing up, and maybe something can spawn out of that, and maybe AEW can get some type of deal from that. But you are 100% right. TNT is obviously going to be looking to cut costs, and you can't blame them based upon like how cool the video is. That probably costs a lot of money, and then having to commission extra music for it and things like that, it can get pricey. So it's not something to be mad about, but it is definitely something to say, well, we could have had a better theme. That's all.
Yeah.
And then just in our last bit of AEW news before we jump into the Dynamite card and really just go across what we think is going to happen on the first show and what results we think are going to happen, the pre-show for Dynamite is actually going to feature a match with Lucha Express versus SCU in a 6-man dark match that's going to be taped for BR Live or some streaming purposes in the future. That's at least been the news going around the internet recently. AJ, what do you think about them having this match as a pre-show, like, dark match or whatever they plan to use it for?
Why is my question. I mean, okay, like we were talking last week, if they're doing a role, but I don't know, I didn't expect it to be recorded. I don't know. I don't think I really like this as an idea to record matches.
Yeah, I mean, I might like them to record a dark match or something, but maybe not this match as the first one, just because I feel like this is something that could have really benefited from some type of established feud or some reason for this match to happen other than, well, this is a great match we can put on the pre-show, because yes, it's a great match we can put on the pre-show that, I mean, I would rather it not be taped and used if that's what we're doing. Use it as your post-show dark match or something like that. Do not. First of all, it shouldn't be going on first as a dark match because the crowd is still going to be getting their merchandise. There's going to be a lot going on. You see that in a lot of pre-shows. This isn't the match that deserves that kind of attention.
You're absolutely right.
And then if you put it on like after your main event, I'm totally cool with that. But I think people could also be leaving there. So why is this a dark match? Like you're saying, it's a match that is featuring 6 of the most popular people within the company at like an early time even. Both groups are popular. Both groups have a lot going for them. So it does give you the reason to want to turn into Bleacher Report Live and see it. But they're going to have to do something within the television show itself to build me to that. And then I'll be with it. And at that point, for the live crowd's sake, I hope that they tape it after. I think that would be unconventional because none of these guys are necessarily main event. Like, it's not John Cena after a Raw taping. These are still not very proven guys, but I think that the AEW fan base, the strong diehards, they will stick around, and it would be worth it, and almost create this stigma of, okay, we're going to stick around after the show for these cool dark matches that are then going to be featured on this or that. I don't think it's a good idea to try and use like matches that went on before the show, which is weird because there is an argument within WWE where people say that 205 Live should have consistently been before SmackDown or taped before, because by the end of the show the crowd is like dead for it. But I think this is a totally different circumstance.
It is, because it's SmackDown, and SmackDown is usually a boring show where you're there for
even if it's a great 2-hour show, you're gonna be burnt out for an hour-long show that is meant for like the cruiserweights were consistently treated as a less than group, so you're waiting for a show that's less than. Whereas if we come in and we're promoting this show as the Bleacher Report Extra or whatever they do with it, to put a spin on it and make the fans feel like they need to tune in, then it can work out. But I just think that I think a lot of people have to look at this and be like, why is this just a dark match? This is an epic match that should be.
It really is. It's a great match.
Another match on a pay-per-view or leading up to a pay-per-view or something like that. And instead, it's gonna feel like maybe a throwaway. I mean, but they will utilize it for something. We do, like I've said many times with AEW, we have to wait and see. And when we wait and see, things generally turn out for the better for us. So.
Yeah, and maybe that's why. Maybe they're trying to get a good match to get that ball rolling, but it's still really bizarre to me. But whatever, like you said, we'll see.
Yeah, but that really wraps up all the AEW news that we have for this week. AJ, let's go ahead and just talk about Dynamite, the first episode of AEW's Dynamite. The first match confirmed for the card, Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes. A match that we've talked about a little bit. They've really been promoting a lot throughout Road 2 and being the Elite as a match that should be more important to Cody, but Cody's not paying attention to Sammy. And Sammy is taking this as seriously as he can, and it's very important to him. Do you think we could see that shocking upset? It feels like they're really building towards that.
I don't think Sammy's going to win, because I think it would be a very bad idea to have the person who's going into a title match lose to Sammy Guevara.
And they have established, like Cody has said, hey, if I lose this match, I'm out of my title match or whatever. But you're right.
It's a bad move. But that said, it could be I think it's going to be a great match. And from what I think this is going on first, like you said, and from what I've heard on The Observer, the idea is to make this match as action-packed as humanly possible before the first commercial, so that anybody watching stays watching. I think this is going to be maybe one of the best matches out of AEW, because I think they're going to go very, very hard, and the effort is going to be at 110% with this match, because they understand the stakes that are on the line with the match.
And how crazy is it that it's Sammy Guevara of all people? Like, and that's not meant to be a diss to Sammy G at all. I love Sammy G. I've seen quite a few matches of his that I was very impressed with, but it shows the trust that Cody has in someone like Sammy G to put on that match, to someone that he has obviously followed throughout the independents without having any matches with him, because it's not like there's a history of Sammy G versus Cody matches, but Cody has obviously paid enough attention to see that this guy is someone worth putting on the very beginning of your show. And that first match, that you're right, it has to tear the house down. They're talking about this match they're just going to start the show. Like, there will be no pre-show promo. There will be no Young Bucks and Kenny and everybody come out and talk first, and then we set up the match. No, it's just Cody's going to come out, Sammy's going to come out, we're going to have the match, and like you said, they're going to put as much in as they possibly can before the first commercial break and just keep it pushing from there. And I think as a fan, that's super exciting. As a man, I think that Sammy G has to be so, like,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure he seems like a confident guy, but also like just... That would be very nerve-wracking to know, but also super awesome to know that your boss has that kind of confidence in you. So I'm sure that match is going to tear the house down, but I'm right there with you. I don't see... I mean, I guess I would say I'd see it more being like they're going to establish they can run a draw on TV. And I think you'll know within the first couple minutes. So I think if they're like the first matchup for a 15-minute time limit, I feel like I'll know at that moment that this match is probably going to go the full 15, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Another interesting match that they've announced within recent weeks, MJF versus Brandon Cutler. What do you think about this match, AJ? Who do you think's going over?
I think it's going to be Brandon Cutler now, and I didn't before.
Get out of here.
I know. I told you I'm going to do a 180, and I'm doing it. And I think I'm a fan of Brandon Cutler now because of that road to.
Cutler's cut though. He's like, look, that's something we talked about in recent weeks. He's jacked. He's someone who's put in the work in the gym to become a credible superstar going into this company.
And I also think Cutler kind of needs a win here. I think he kind of needs to establish himself as not a jobber, not enhancement talent.
You are 100% right, because if he loses, I'm going to say, well, that's what I thought he was going to be. That's what he's perfect for. That's fine for him. But I think they might, like you said, kind of be trying to transition it to maybe that's not the story.
Mm-hmm. And, if it is, okay, that's fine. If you use enhancement, we need enhancement. But I really think we might, and maybe that's the point. Maybe I'm supposed to be right now going, oh man, I want Brandon Cutler to win so bad. And when he loses, it makes MJF that much more of a heel. And that's the perfect enhancement talent. But I don't know. And I kind of love that. I have no idea, but I'm hoping Brandon Cutler wins just because, honest to God, I like him and I like the promos and he seems like such a good dude. I want him to win and I want to root for him. He seems like an everyman and I like the vibe a lot.
Well, and just does a good job at like Cutler has done a good job at presenting himself as this uber white meat baby face of just being a guy like that fits that perfect mold. But like then you have MJF, who's the perfect person for him to beat, because MJF, despite being really great on the mic, no one really views him as like this world ender in the ring. Anyone could beat MJF and it would be fine. I would never be like, how did Marco Stunt pin MJF? Because MJF is someone who could take a pin from a lot of people, and I also think he can pick up wins by being a heel and doing smarmy things that it works out perfectly fine. So I think you're right, and I think that an MJF versus Cutler feud could be a good establishing feud for both guys. Cutler is someone who, if they're not going to utilize him as just enhancement talent, as we've sort of thought over the last few months, that could really benefit from a good introductory feud. And introducing MJF versus Cutler, I think, is a great idea, especially if you're not going to do the MJF versus Shawn Spears thing really early. But then I think, going back to the last match a little bit, as I thought about MJF versus Spears not really seeming like something that's going to happen, I think we could see Spears get involved in that very first match. And I don't know how I feel about that, if I want that first match to have like the first ever match in AEW history with interference.
No, I wouldn't like that at all. But
and I think that's a reason that they wouldn't do it. But at the same time, I could see that being a good way to continue the Cody story with Spears.
Maybe after the match.
I don't think that. Yeah, that too. I think that match or that feud, it's not over. So.
No, absolutely not.
But yeah, I think you're going with Cutler. I'm going to have to say that I think MJF is going to win. I still think that Cutler is essentially going to be that feeder talent. But like I said, if MJF is the one to put over Cutler, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
From there, we have Jon Moxley is confirmed to appear live. Do you think that this is going to lead to an actual match? Or do you think Moxley's just going to come out, cut a promo on Kenny, and leave?
I think in my head, I'm seeing that he's going to come out, he's going to cut a promo, and then Kenny's going to come out, and they're going to get into some kind of altercation, maybe held apart, whatever. I think it's going to be something like that. I do think we're going to see them both in the ring with each other. I don't think even if they don't touch, I think we're going to see them together. And something's gonna, because you really got to start adding some I don't know, logs to the fire here and get this going.
Well,
and they're doing a pretty
national
good job
TV. This is supposed to be the feud. Kenny and him should really touch on beat each other down on TV.
Yeah.
And I could see it almost being something where Moxley just beats Omega within an inch of his life. Omega then can't compete in the 6-man tag, and then instead of getting that surprise from Jericho with his two partners, we instead get a surprise from the Young Bucks with their one partner. So who knows? I think that would be an interesting way to tell the story, especially because they plan on announcing Jericho's two partners tomorrow night. They're going to announce it during that 1 hour special that they're doing on TNT ahead of Dynamite, so they're doing that tomorrow, Tuesday night. And I think that they said they were going to announce who Jericho's partners were on that show. So we're going to actually know going into Dynamite who Jericho's partners are, so I could almost see them in a way transitioning this into that story. And then if Cody does happen to lose that match to Sammy G, you can then introduce a new character to potentially be Jericho's foe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I think
Like
that
super conspiracy theory out there, but like
no, I think that's really viable, and I think that would be a really good way to keep the show interesting. Because, like you said, or like we've been saying, I mean, we know the whole card, and when you know the whole card and it's the first episode, then what room do you have for surprises? Well, you can make the surprises on the show because that's the beauty of wrestling on TV. I've heard it described as this before, but the only thing that's similar to wrestling is the Muppet Show because it's a show where you see the show getting put together as the show happens, and so that means things go wrong on the show and things go upside down. And I think that's a key element here. And I think they know it's a key element of just wrestling in general. So I think that's totally a viable thing. If not that, then maybe even something else. And we're not going to know until we see it.
Right, and I think like it just begs the question. We've talked about this a couple of times. There's really going to be no surprise on your first show, which I'm fine with, but I'm skeptical of as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have that surprise. You don't have to have this big moment, but they're literally giving away so much before that could have been fine as a surprise. Pok would have been fine as a surprise.
Yep.
We're now getting the tag team for Jericho announced the day before Dynamite, so it's going to be all over social media and be a known thing. Like, it's not
you're right.
bad, but where are our surprises going to then lie? There's not a lot left within the land of the wrestling world. If you take a look at the lay of the land, there's not a lot left anyway. So,
and it's not even so much you gotta be surprising for the TV audience, which you do, but you gotta have that live crowd pop, and you gotta have them like go ape shit, and you really do need a surprise.
There will be the great matches that social media will be talking about, and that's really, at the end of the day, all they have to do is give you a solid set of 5, 6 really great 15, 20-minute matches. But as a fan, I definitely do wish or hope that there's going to be some type of surprise that I'm like, wow, because even our intro video, dude, like there is so much for the first episode that's already like available. You know the matches, you know the intro video, like, and granted, there's so much we still have to see the matches. We still have to see how everything develops. But I think that they've given away a lot just to try and continue the hype, and maybe they shouldn't have.
Yeah, no, you're right. To some extent. I mean, obviously, just like you said, just Pac, just Jericho's partners, those few things is really all you needed. But, you know, those are out the window now. I don't know. We'll
Which is
see.
confusing for guys who seem to have like their finger on the pulse of wrestling and seem to know.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you think that they would know? Like, and even going further back, why did LAX need to get involved in that ladder match?
That's very true.
If this is how we're going to play out the story, it would have been much more exciting if we had no idea leading up to it. Jericho's there like, oh, I've got an old friend from WCW, and Conan brings out LAX or something. You know what I mean?
That would be great.
Yeah,
oh my God,
so
now I'm sad.
Instead of which their debut on the pay-per-view was great. It was great for a surprise there, but I don't, as someone who was there, I don't necessarily think we needed it there.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right there. I don't know. I am sure there's going to be a surprise, and I'm sure they have something up their sleeve, but God, I have no idea what it could possibly be. And it ain't CM Punk. I'm pretty damn sure about that.
Well, and as a fan who's been scorned so many times by other promotions and being like, I'm sure something's going to happen at the end of this major pay-per-view. I'm sure someone's going to come out in the middle of this Royal Rumble. And it never happens. That's why looking at the tea leaves and just looking at how everything is laid out right now, I'm like, man, we're really not going to get any like holy crap moment, because it's all, they used them all. They used Mox. They used Pac. They used LAX. They used a lot of what they had, and hopefully they have more. But by the way the interviews are going, the Punk, like you said, the Punk thing ain't it. So what else is there necessarily within the lay of the land? It would have to be that shocking.
Unless we're being super worked, and that's the point. But I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither. So I mean, there's that. But then I mean, and just speaking about the 6-man tag match, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Jericho and this tag team, do you think that this match came about like they obviously, I feel like they were building the match initially to think to make people think we were going to get Jericho versus Omega early on, but I don't know if we're going to get that now.
Yeah, I don't think we will, or not anytime soon. Maybe on
not the first pay-per-view, you know, obviously. So because Omega's booked, even though Jericho could technically like come out of his, well, you're right. I hope it's not on TV. You want to, but then again. That's something you haven't really seen as an epic on TV.
That's true, but also the champion fighting Kenny Omega on TV, I don't know.
it's a match that'll get people to tune in. I know they've announced that Jericho's supposed to defend his championship. A match against Omega would definitely get people tuning in. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it really feels like this was initially to continue at that Jericho Omega feud, but instead it just sort of is a match now that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
Why this 6-man is happening outside of, well, it's the Elite and we want to pair them and we want to have the Omega and Jericho thing. I mean, it's a fine match,
it's just supposed to be a good match. I don't know, but it's weird to have all that star power on it if that's the case.
Well, yeah. Well, you just like think about the way the whole thing is sort of built up. You know, like there wasn't much of a build for a 6-man here. It was just, this is a 6-man that's going to happen. There's 2 surprise tag team partners. Like, it'll be a cool thing, but I mean, I don't know. And I definitely feel like I'm being a little too complainy about it, so I'm not going to act like it's the end of the world. But I do think that, like, it's weird because we're obviously not doing Jericho Omega right now.
Yeah.
So,
it is
like,
weird.
6-mans like this, I feel like should be reserved for those type of feuds where we're building a feud.
Yeah, and it is weird, and it kind of should. I don't know. I think the Young Bucks' idea here, though, is they really want to showcase a crazy 6-man and get people into it, but
they won't have time.
Yeah, they don't. They really don't. Not on this show.
Even just looking at the card, I mean, you have to give Rhodes and Guevara like a decent amount of time.
You do.
You have to give Paige and Pok a decent amount of time. You have to give the women's championship match a decent amount of time. So there's like all 3 of those need time. Granted, yes, you can fit that 4th match in, and MJF versus Cutler can be a quick, easy match.
Mm-hmm.
You leave not a lot of room for anything else after everything we've already talked about. And there's a lot more, like, I mean, maybe not a lot more, but where's Joey Janela? Where is, like, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus? We obviously talked about them being on the pre-show, but what a bad place for them. Where's Darby Allin? Like, just there's quite a few people that I'm feeling like we're going to come out and be like, where were they?
And the other thing you have at risk is, okay, yeah, we're packing the first show, and you have all the big stars, and all the stars are out. And then the next show, you are going to get Joey Janela. You are going to get Darby Allin, probably. And it's going to be a letdown to a lot of people, not to us, but to maybe some other people. They're going to go, oh, where's Kenny Omega? Where's Chris Jericho? Where's John Moxley?
And I think that'll be the growing pains of AEW and for AEW fans like you and me who, like, we'll just, at the end of the day, we got to deal with it. They can't put everybody on the first card. I totally agree with, like, I listened to Meltzer one point say a theory of, like, push mainly 3 guys that you really want to get over every week, and it's a slow but sure thing. And I get that. So there will be a lot of growing pains and people saying, where was this guy this week? Where was this guy this week? But I do think that, like, with the way this card is laid out, I just think that there should be more than 5 matches, but with the 5 matches that they've booked, they don't have a lot of time for anything else.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was thinking about that the other day. I was doing the math in my head. I was like, all right, so let's say 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, and then, like, do we have any promos? Because it doesn't seem like you can even fit any.
You can do, like, 6 20-minute matches in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which I don't anticipate. Again, I don't, and I don't even necessarily think wrestling fans want that. But I do think that I mean, how many matches do you think a show needs, honestly?
On a TV,
maybe 6 is fine.
Maybe 6 is fine. I was gonna say 4 or 5, but 6 could be good. It's yeah, about 4 or 5 is what I think ideally for a 2-hour show.
Right, and then you mix in your promos and everything else there.
Yeah.
I do think that in some cases you need the shorter, quicker matches, but I think that's where they need to get someone like Wardlow involved quick.
Yes.
He's someone that I wouldn't mind seeing in like some surprise match that they have unannounced and then boom, just squashes somebody in 5 minutes or 2 minutes. But I don't know. As a fan, I just think that like I think you're right in about the 4, 5, 6 range of matches. But when you think about how many people are on this roster, I have to start thinking like maybe 8, maybe 9, just because of how many people are on the roster. But you're like, damn, how do you fit all of that into the program that they're trying to deliver? So it's something that we're going to have to wait and see. And another match that I'm really excited to see on live television, Adam Page versus Pok. This match is super exciting, a match that they've already had in the past, but wasn't able to do on pay-per-view due to obviously so many different reasons. What do you think now that we'll get to see this live on TV?
I'm expecting a fantastic match, and we know it's a good match. We know it's a great match, actually. We know they have chemistry, which is already great. I think, and I know it's not ideal, and they didn't want it that way, but that indie match, not I don't want to say indie, but that match they had before, I think knowing that these two paired real well to get together,
Yeah.
really puts you in a good way to go, okay, we're gonna run this
Yeah, like
feud
this
and
match
it's gonna
is
be
going to
good.
be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And God, I just Pac is so good. He is maybe the best that AEW has as far as like not counting Kenny Omega and like the big guys, like the big stars. He's probably your top guy as far as just being great on the mic, great in the ring, constantly. Like I can't remember a bad match ever that he's ever had. I can't think like, wow, that Pac match just sucked. I
Right.
hate Adrian Neville. That's never happened. It's never come out of my mouth, and I don't think anybody's ever really thought like, wow, this is so boring. He's just a great performer.
And I think the one concern I have about this match and sort of a couple of other matches on the card is how are these performers going to work within the confines of commercial breaks and things like
Yeah.
that? I mean, not just for the commercial, not just for the performers, but as a fan, you have to sit there and wait through a commercial, get back into the match. It's not very easy to get into those 20-minute matches that a lot of fans want to see from AEW. But there's a reason that other companies do quicker, faster matches when it's on TV. And so it's something that I'm curious to see, like Adam Page
too,
versus
yeah.
Pac. Pac has that experience within working on TV, and I think that's something they might have done on purpose with Pac and Rhodes and Jericho on the other side of that six-man, is they have people who've worked through these commercial breaks and things like that. But I think it's going to be something we'll have to see, like, can this style of wrestling work within the confines of a 2-minute break here and a 2-minute break there? It's something that's literally never been seen in the world of wrestling when you think about
You're
it.
super right. And on that note, I have no clue. I think the closest we got to that was, I guess, TNA and the like '05 to
Yeah,
'09.
the really prime era of TNA, you're right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And that it worked. It didn't go badly, but there were times where you were watching a really hot match and you got kind of blue balled because it's just kind of, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels are killing each other. All right, bye.
well, then it leaves a lot of like it doesn't leave a lot of room for mistakes, I would say, because
Yeah.
you have such a short, like, that's why I think TNA gets such a bad rap, is because they have epic matches even to this day, but they take half of your, or like a quarter of your show, and the other quarter of your show has garbage and the other quarter is okay, but you utilize so much time on this one thing that people don't really even have time to care about that. It's easily forgotten, and we're on to like the 4 things that sucked. So I do think that, like, I think they'll be fine, but I do think it's something very different for fans, and not something that people are really taking into consideration. You're used to watching these Ring of Honor and PWG talent in 20, 30-minute like epics where you don't get an interruption. There will 100% be interruptions during TNT that I think, could suck.
And Ring of Honor TV, on that note, I don't really like it. And I've caught it. Every time I've ever caught it, I'm like, it's not doing
I blame
it
that
for
on
me.
the production, though. I blame, like, Ring of Honor's TV production is really,
Strictly
like,
the matches, I mean. Like, the matches always, and that does go into production, to your point. But it's always very kind of too cerebral or slow or methodical from what I'm expecting from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, like, people are expecting one style of wrestling, and that's this quick, high-flying, fast-paced style, and we're going to have to get it from basically the jump, or I think a lot of people will be looking for an alternative. And like I said, it's just something like within commercials and wrestling, we'll have to wait and see how it all works out, but I think that that might be the killer in the end of the day. Like, the roster's so good, the matches will be great, but it's hard to keep people's attention for such a long period of time. I mean, 20-minute match is probably 3 commercial breaks or 2 commercial breaks. You got to be a strong talent to hold a consumer for those 2 or 3 commercial breaks.
Absolutely. You really, and it's going to be a lot just to keep that retention and to keep people hooked in. I think they can do it, and I think they are going to do it, especially on this first show. It's more of a question of down the line, are they going to be able to consistently keep that up? Like you said, they have people who are kind of veteran to being on TV in this, but you can't do that every show.
Right, and this next match, the final match we have to talk about that's been announced, Nyla Rose versus Rio, doesn't have that ring veteran in the sense of television.
Oh, yeah.
Rio obviously is the veteran in this match based upon her history within wrestling, but it's a whole different take, and I think that's one of the biggest things that makes me wonder what this match is going to end up like and where it's going to end on the card, because in my opinion, the first women's championship match, the only championship match on the card, it should be last. I get that that's a bit of a risky move going up against NXT,
No,
put
you're
in
right.
this women's championship match with some controversy behind it just because of Nyla Rose and her recent things that she said on social media and things like that. But I do think that it's if you want to be that alternative and you want to be something different, do something that took WWE 30 years to do night one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And really push that women's division, but then they have to have a good match. And that's where, yes, I want to do those things, but these two, and that's not even to say either one can't have a great match, but can they have a great match on TV?
That's the question, but you're right. I would agree with it. I think it's a bet they should take.
It's worth falling flat on your face for that one, in my opinion, but at the same time, it's your first TV show.
Not only that, listen, you put them in the title match. If you didn't think they could do it, then you shouldn't have put them in the title match.
You should have had a different championship match, like a different two lined up. I agree 100%, and that's where, you have to think that they're thinking about this because it's the only championship. There's not even a tag team title tournament match on this, so they have to be considering it. And I think it would be almost a bad move to do anything other than that. I think if you're going to put championship matches on television, make them mean something from day one, And then next time you do a championship match that's on TV, only do one a week, or not one a week, but if you're going to do one, just do one per any week, and then make it your main event, even if it's a tag team titles, even if they introduce a secondary title, make those titles mean something, so when they are being defended on TV, oh cool, my guy's in not only a championship match but a main event match. It really adds to it, I think, and I think it would be a smart move to do, and they have to do it from day one.
Yeah, and they have said, like you said, do the thing that WWE didn't do for so long, and that they should have done, and that everybody knows they should have done, and that Rio can go. That's not a question.
You could tell a hell of a story and have a great match with these two, too. With Rio and Nyla, I mean, the story it's there to be told by itself anyway, so.
And the story also right now is Rio being small and Nyla being big, and that can add so much to this match because Nyla can throw this one around.
It can go a little while, too, to be that main event caliber match.
Absolutely.
So.
I think it's the smart move, or not, maybe not the smart move, but I think it's the right move.
It's worth a shot, dude. I mean, you guys have come this far on things that weren't supposed to work. It might not supposed to work, but if you spend the whole show building it up, giving each one a promo or two, and showing Rio's history in Japan and things like that, then it's a lot. You have a reason for the crowd who's been watching all night to be invested in this match. I mean, for a lot of people, this is going to be their first ever AEW show. So you should be building up your main event from the first minute anyway, in my opinion. There should be a couple of promos leading to whatever your main event is. Because
and think about it,
man.
Think about it. If you put the tag match on last, who gets over? Nobody. They're already over. Nobody needs
the surprise is already given away. Maybe that's why they're giving it away like that.
That's true.
To take it away, because that might make people be like, oh, well, why did you end with this match instead of the surprise of LAX? Maybe that's why.
Yeah, and that would make a lot of sense. And you put this match on last, you immediately get two people to become stars very, very quickly, as long as it goes well.
And the thing about it is you put the title on Nyla, and Rio still looks like a star coming out of it. I don't necessarily think if you put this in the main event, you can swing it the other way, and I don't think it should be done the other way with Rio coming out as the victor so early. I think it would actually hurt both of them because it obviously hurts Nyla to lose to Rio so early, but I think that Rio has such an opportunity to tell more of a story as an underdog continuing to overcome than to be an underdog for one match and then just be known as the person who has great matches. Because being the person who has great matches only gets you so far.
Yep, and Nyla has a lot of room to get over in a lot of different ways. And also, I know they kind of teased Aja Kong and Awesome Kong, but I feel like Nyla Rose would be a way better opponent for Awesome Kong in 2019. Aja's not bad, but she's older now. She's long in the tooth, and she's in her 50s. She's wrestled a long time, and she's never really slowed down. So she has a lot of physical limitations now.
It's crazy that you even bring that match up because it's such a big deal, but it's something that's so far back in my mind because they haven't done anything to follow up on it.
Yeah, and right.
That's the thing too about this card. I mean, we've seen this is like a 6-match card or whatever. If they want to, they have quite a stacked women's roster. Like they have quite a few women that they've brought in, and they make you think that they have an intention to push or make into something new in professional wrestling. So it's like, where's the room for it as we continue to talk about these long extended matches that maybe won't be so long? And I wonder how fans will react to that. If a lot of these matches are quicker and shorter than what people are expecting, how they'll react.
I'm kind of interested in that too, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I can't believe they went so quick, because playing it a little more safe, and I think that's kind of smart.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think they should do all of these. And that's the weird thing again about this card and how it's like put together is it seems like a card that should have 5 20-minute matches, almost like a pay-per-view card. That was the idea. Yeah. That's what they were going for, but now you have a pay-per-view card to put on in 2 hours, and you don't really have room for these other people that you want to introduce to fans. So, but what I'm excited for too is maybe we don't have to have matches. I will take a 2-minute Joey Janela video because Absolutely. Joey Janela vignettes are the best part. That's what made people love Joey Janela in the first place. I would love something like that. So if they can do something like that as well, I would be fine with that. And I think that's a quick way to get people over as well and introduce them with the fan base. So I mean, it's all Absolutely. Wait and see. I'm super stoked though for Dynamite.
Too,
like that Wednesday, like it's almost surreal to me that it's Monday, just 2 days away.
It really is that close, and it does not. It feels kind of further away, but
right?
My God, we're gonna get not only AEW on TV, and I know we're not gonna talk about NXT, but we're getting 2 very stacked cards on a Wednesday night war, a wrestling war, a promotional war. Next Wednesday is going to be
as equivalent to like WrestleMania the last 5 years in terms of match quality based on matches that are happening. Like on both cards, both shows, like the 4 hours of action, that's equivalent to me of literally like a good WrestleMania show. So
absolutely, this is more interesting to me than WrestleMania has been, like you said, in the past 5 years. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm excited to see where things go. I'm excited that we'll be able to talk every week about like different things, and I'm excited that like starting this Wednesday, our plan for Wednesday night main event is essentially to go live. I actually haven't even spoken with this to AJ yet, but our plan is to go live during the main event of AEW. So as things are going on, you'll get to see our live reaction to AEW or live reaction directly after the event. If AJ doesn't want to be seen, he wants to pay all his attention to the TV. That's fine. But we'll be going live literally minutes after AEW to discuss the show, talk about everything. Probably not going to have highlights because the last time we did highlights, we got banned from YouTube for whatever freaking reason. But we will have something to talk about every Wednesday to sit here and come on and talk about the show that we just watched. And I'm excited for that. Something that we've waited, 34 weeks to do? This has been in the works for such a long time. As someone who's worked on the podcast and worked with AJ and been able to discuss wrestling weekly with my friend for the first time in years again, it's so awesome, and it's cool to know that it's just right around the corner. And I hope that it's as exciting as they've planned it out to be and played it out to be, because they're obviously but there's potential for things to not necessarily go how people want it. So
no, I couldn't agree more. You said it.
But really, that wraps up this week's episode of the All Elite Podcast. We have run down the entire card for this week's AEW Dynamite. This Wednesday, you can catch us live right after Dynamite. We're going to be talking about our reaction from the first ever show. So excited for that. AJ, go ahead and plug your social media accounts.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
As always, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at All Elite Podcast. I strongly suggest you do. Within the next week or two is when we're really going to start planning out how we plan to give away our 2 full gear tickets. Really excited for that. It was so awesome to be able to give away the 2 tickets to the DC show this week, because it was just cool to see Jason so excited, so hyped that he was going to be a part of this moment for AEW and part of this moment for television, and it was cool to me to be able to be someone to help give that away to somebody. So I'm so excited to give away the Full Gear tickets as well. Hopefully we can meet up with whoever wins them and hang out, maybe have a couple drinks at the show or something like that. But it's just so cool to be a part of the wrestling community and continue to do this and spread this joy with everyone just from one company that started up over the last couple months.
Yeah.
So, you can also follow us on Instagram at All Elite Everything. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at All Elite Andy, and make sure to tune in this Wednesday, when we talk about All Elite Everything, All Elite Wrestling. So that really wraps things up. Until next week, see ya.
Bye-bye.
We going all out, about to start a war now.
I'm Nick Gage, and if you don't watch All Elite Podcast, I'm gonna send someone to the house to fuck you up.